Thanks for joining us for another episode of Triple Play. Please remember to
like and subscribe and share.
Yeah, and support. Don't forget to support. That support button, $3 a month helps us out. More if you got it, but $3 is the minimum, so we like that. Also, don't forget to support those that support us. We got Andy McCallum and Resource One, 636-458-1798. And we've got Chris with CS Design at 573-436-3717. And lastly, Jeff Earhart with State Farm Insurance. And Jeff is awesome. He happens to have some good guys there. His number is 314-821-5333. You have any needs?
What number was that?
314-821-5333. That's my new one. I'm still working on
5333.
That's right.
Okay.
Got it.
Sounds like you could help me out if I called him.
821-JEFF. Also, 314-821-JEFF.
I didn't realize that. I'll change that. 821
Jeff.
All right. I can handle that. That's easy enough.
And we got a returning guest today.
We do.
I don't know if anybody out there knows him. He goes by Andy. Mm-hmm. He's my dad. Mm-hmm. We brought you on mostly to talk about Cardinals stuff, but if there's other things that pop up, I'm sure we'll...
Well, we had some questions people sent in, so I have those on there too. Some of them were some pretty weird ones, so we may have to kind of read them and just kind of see how we want to answer them. But I put them on there just because some of them were actually...
We'll get good answers.
Well, it's actually really good for you to respond to the people who are listening to you. So I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Well, that's what we're going to do.
Good.
There we go.
Well, you don't have to start with it, though.
Well... we're going to start with everybody. My number one thing everybody wants to know is, what does Andy think of the St. Louis Cardinals? So, and I'm like, you could probably find that out if you listen to the radio show. But I guess they want maybe a little more detail. But so St. Louis Cardinals,
or less detail. Maybe you could sum up their season.
You know what I should probably do is start by saying I was wrong. How about that one? I was wrong. I said that the NL Central might be won by somebody who only had mid-80s to low 80s. Most of the division did, but the winner actually looks like we'll probably hit 90. Milwaukee, I think, is at 88 or 89 right now and has a few more games. So,
and you were a little more optimistic on the pitching than I was.
Not the Cardinals pitching.
Yeah, you were.
Was I?
Oh, yeah.
Early on,
Early on. Go back and look at the tape.
I will. I have to listen to it.
Go way back in the beginning when I was here.
I was probably a little more optimistic than you are now. I thought Wainwright would do a little bit better than he did. I thought he'd have more than 5 wins. Michaelis did worse. I thought he would probably take a step back. Last year was that 34 career year. I thought we would see something between that and his normal years. I thought maybe he would take a slight regression, but not as regressive as he's done in the past. But he kind of repeated. If you look at his last good year, he kind of repeated that same trend. So I don't know. Flaherty did about what I thought he would do. Matz, I thought, would do better. He kind of saved himself second half.
He's a mid below average.
Yeah, but he had
starter.
Yeah, his first half was terrible though. When he came, he fixed himself.
Was his first half terrible, or was that little burst of greatness unexpected?
No, I think he's an okay pitcher. I just think that first half he just didn't have his stuff. He wasn't sharp. He didn't come into camp sharp. I'm not sure what it was. That bullpen kind of working out his stuff seemed to help him. But maybe that goes to this. We'll have to get Andy going here. Maybe that goes to their coaching.
Well, you guys are commenting. You have to ask me a question. So,
what'd you think of the Cardinals season this year?
I haven't had an opportunity to answer, so I will. There's obviously a lot of foundations that were broken this year. And I think, statistically, that's where everybody is in today's game. They want to look at stats to paint a picture of what's going on at their major league ball club, whether it's hitting, fielding, pitching. But the number one thing that I observed this year with this pitching staff is an inability to have people put the ball in weekly. The Cardinals were the 29th ranked team in all baseball with the hardest hit coming off the bats of their opponents. There's only one other staff in baseball, Colorado. And when you constantly are on defense, constantly balls are being put in play, constantly have to make every play correctly, it's just going to wear out your team. It's going to wear out your bullpen. And it's everybody celebrating Adam Wainwright's 200th win. I agree, it's something to celebrate. But the process of getting to Wainwright's 200th win, which seemed to be the number one driving force to me throughout the whole season. Let's get Waino 200 wins. That's all you hear about. Waino's. He absolutely decimated the bullpen in the process of doing that. And when you do that, you expose your weakness. The weakness was the bullpen. The weakness was the inability to shut games down late. Because and Scott was attested to this. It seemed like 2 to 3 times a series, the Cardinals are always having to come from behind early. That's a bad formula. Just a flat out bad formula. It just wears on you over the course of time. So, too many balls put in play, too many hard balls put in play. The inability to strike people out was huge. And that just, over the course of 162 games, that's really the picture of what happened to the pitching staff of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Fair enough. What do you think about their hitting?
Hitting from behind is different than hitting when it matters. Hitting's different when you're ahead. And that's another thing. When you get ahead early in games and you got a starting pitcher that might give up 1 or 2 for the next 6 innings, it's easier to hit. Because now, if I don't get on, the guy behind me might get on and we, steal, whatever. But the pressure of always trying to get on base when you're behind early in the game, it's real. And it affects the way you approach hitting. It does.
Well, you go from maybe the biggest change is you go from the mindset as, I want to hit this ball hard. I want to drive this ball. I want to, and it's a killer thought. I need to get on base. I want to get a hit. I want to walk. Like having the result be your thought is a killer.
Right. Instead of the process of enjoying the process of going up there and hitting, it is a different mindset. There is added pressure knowing that every out, we're only, we're 19 outs away from even trying to get back in this game. We're 18 outs away. That matters. It absolutely matters. But when you got a 3-run lead in the 5th or 6th, man, it just frees you up to add on. And the Cardinals, a lot of times would catch up, right? Mm-hmm. Tie the game in the middle of the game, but oh my gosh, what happened to the bullpen? Because the starting pitcher's thrown 90 pitches as the 4th inning. We got to bring in guys and roles to hold the opposing team that aren't capable of opposing that team from scoring more runs.
Well, yeah, and then you put in the manager in precarious situations. When do I pull this guy? Do I pull him? Am I pulling him too early? Do I let him go another inning? Like those things all get
because it's one thing to pull a guy out of the bullpen thinking he's got a better chance than Michaelis in the situation. That wasn't always the case. He was hoping that the guy he brought in would shut it down. I mean, a hope is not a good way to go out to the mound. A manager goes out to the mound knowing that the guy in the bullpen has a better chance.
Yeah.
That did not happen.
You want the manager to go, what inning is it? And then the thought is 7th. And then a name popping in.
Jones, 8th inning.
You don't want
Smith,
it's
9th inning. Whoever.
You don't want to be thinking about pitch counts, and you want a name. I think
it was like a merry-go-round.
Yeah,
spin the wheel and see who comes flying off.
Well, one of the things you mentioned, we had Tommy Lane on here just a few episodes ago, and one of the things in that episode you mentioned was the fact that we don't even know who the closer was most of the time, and how important it's been a long time.
But you know what? The closer this year was irrelevant.
Yeah,
it was totally irrelevant this year.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no reason to even bring up closer with this season. Closer means nothing. I mean, they came back in the 7th inning 3 times this year from behind.
Wow.
So closer doesn't mean anything.
Well, you were talking about stressful, like a stressful at bat, playing behind. They have statistics for pitchers that have, like, maybe they had 6 innings, but they had 3 stressful innings. That, yeah, we're talking about guys coming out of the bullpen. Yeah, it might be 6-0, but it might not be their role. Maybe they're typically 7th, 8th inning. That is a stressful inning, whether you think it is or not for the guy. That's
there's starting pitchers. Relief pitchers rather come in with nobody on, obviously, than somebody on. But I mean, it seemed like game after game after game, someone was coming in the 4th, coming in the 5th, coming into 6 with, bases jammed, couple guys on. The starting pitcher had already thrown 90 pitches.
Yeah.
That's a bad formula. It just is a bad, and you cannot get around it.
I think if I read something, I want to say there were in the first 6 or 8 weeks, I think it was first 6 weeks of the season, we only had 2 games that we made it past the 5th inning with the starter. So that's...
I mean, the mere fact that Wainwright finished his career with a 2-0 win and made it to the 7th inning is remarkable. I mean, remarkable.
Yeah.
No runs, right?
No runs.
Yeah. And
1-0.
Yeah.
So the way he went out, I was really happy for him. I still think the process of getting there is not the prettiest picture. But they decided to do it. He decided to do it, and it's history now. So let's just enjoy what happened.
yeah, I agree. You gotta try to take something out of the season at this point. I think that's something.
Well, it's really sad that the process of him getting 200 is really the story of the season.
Yeah.
Not him, and he is not the reason, but he is certainly a reflection, generally, of how the season went. And I guess at some point for him to get to 200 was more important than finding out whether someone was better than him.
Well, yeah. I mean, and to a certain degree, he earned doing that. Like nobody had to ask him to pitch this season. He was under contract. He did have a landmark amount of wins to get to. He earned that. I mean, if you stick in his season with Joe Schmo's name, who's 22, like you don't let him go the first few months. Like
there's no way.
Like that.
Oh yeah.
His season doesn't happen.
No.
Right.
So if you're having a season that's not supposed to happening during your season, you can't expect
Well,
shake out.
having said that, you can't. I don't remember what I said back in the spring, but I'm not surprised at Wainwright's season at all. I'm not shocked at all. I'm surprised he made it through the season, to be honest with you. With his age and arm trouble and lack of velocity and all that other stuff, the mere fact that he ended up with 6 wins or 7 wins in itself is, to me, remarkable. Because stuff-wise, I didn't see any worse.
Yeah.
The ability to pitch at the big league level, I didn't see anything better.
No. Well, then he's got.
I mean, it was like, this is really bad stuff with a guy who's got unbelievable experience and knowledge how to pitch. That's why I always said that Adam Wainwright's baseball career should be a pitching coach. I think he would make the best pitching coach in the big leagues within 5 years. If he wanted it. He's that gifted.
Last year was such a unbelievably historic year for Wainwright that you can't even really calculate what he should have done. Like you had Pujols ending, Yachty.
That's my point. That's my point. I think he should have gone on with the other two.
I mean, you have how much adrenaline did he have going out every night with Yachty being last year, Pujols hitting homers?
I'm going to bring up.
And all that adrenaline faded in late August.
Well,
yeah.
It was really after almost the All-Star break. By the end of July, he had nothing.
Right.
The rest of that last half of the season, he was what we saw this season.
Right. Yeah.
And that was my concern with him was.
Another thing the fact they said he went to the World Baseball Classic. I heard, I hear all these. Well, you know what? So did the other teams in the big leagues, and it didn't affect them. Mm-mm. So that excuse kind of ticks me off.
Well, and I think right now he just said.
Not only that, for they made excuse for the other players too. It's like,
everybody went.
Everybody went.
Yeah, well, I'd even say, excuse of him possibly getting hurt during that time because he came in. But it looks like, based on what he was just saying in the news the past couple of days, why he's not going to pitch again, which obviously I think it's great that he goes out with that game.
Sure.
But he said he's got shoulder, elbow, he's got all sorts. He's going to have 2 or 3 surgeries coming up, and apparently they've been needing to be done for a little while. So he's kind of stabbed them off. So
it shows what kind of character he has to go out there and
pitch through it.
Well,
he said he threw everything he had. He had nothing left after that game. He said, when I got pulled, there was nothing left in that arm and on my shoulder. I couldn't go back out ever again.
Well,
so,
well, good.
He said that was packaged. Everything he had left in the body was packaged in that game. So
that's good. That's awesome. Good for him. At least you can say he left it on the field.
Yeah,
you got to respect that.
Absolutely. So A question I got for you. What do you think because he's an outfielder right now, the progression of Jordan Walker. I know at the beginning of the season we talked and you guys went to home opener and he was a little clunky in the outfield. And
wait a minute. A little clunky?
Yeah.
I've never heard that term, but that's not the right way to describe it.
Well, you describe it anyways. I was just
he looked
raw?
like a man in the dark.
Raw.
I mean, no clue what was going on. He has somewhat of a clue now.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been some plays in the last few games that I still don't think he's ready to play every day in the outfield. You cannot have guys in the outfield dropping balls and not cutting off balls that the last 999 outfielders over 1,000 have done.
Well, how old is he again?
He's 22.
22.
Now he's going to get better. I mean, obviously, if he's on the field, he's going to get better. But at this point,
well, those are the mistakes you normally make in the minor leagues, in
correct,
high A or double A, where
and it was it was unfair to him, in my opinion, to stick him in the outfield at the big league level and never played it. That's criminal.
That'd be tough.
That's criminal. The only reason I can say it's criminal because Whitey Herzog tried to put me at third base, and I was not ready. I played 35 games in the minor leagues. I was not ready to embarrass myself at the big, and that's what I did. I embarrassed myself at the big league level, embarrassed the club, and I guess they thought I could play in a short period of time, and I couldn't. And not every player can make an adjustment to a different position. There's so few Mookie Becks in the world. They can have a Gold Glove at short, Gold Glove at second, Gold Glove right field. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
And that's probably something he did growing up.
Oh, he did.
Right?
But I just think he's so incredibly athletic.
Yeah, he is because he's bowling too. We've talked about that. He's amazing at bowling.
That's my point. It doesn't matter what he does. The guy is a freak athlete. Mm-hmm. Now, I think Walker's an athlete. I don't think he's a freak athlete. He's a big, strong young man who has the potential of hitting 40 home runs. But he's no freak athlete. He's very athletic, don't get me wrong. But you have to separate athleticism in every sport.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mookie Betts is sort of like the Michael Jordan of baseball right now. That's how good he is.
He's a quick guy.
And everybody else is below. I mean, everybody else is at the bottom of the pile. Good athlete, yeah. Good athlete, yeah. Good athlete. But to be a superior athlete, he's not a superior athlete. He's a good one, and I think he's got a great future.
Yeah, it's kind of like trying to compare anybody to the first 11 years of Albert's career. You know, like nobody's probably going to a lifetime's.
No, I've never heard anybody say that. I don't think anybody expects that. Whatever he gives you is going to be good.
Yeah,
and to expect that Albert Pujols is.
Well,
don't even go down that road.
Well, I wasn't trying to compare Jordan to that. I was just saying it would be like trying to compare any player to Albert's first 11 years. That was the most incredible 11 years maybe a player's ever had. So, bat-wise, average-wise, home run-wise.
But it has nothing to do with Jordan Walker.
No, my point was the comparison you were talking about Mookie Betts to. It's like
it has nothing to do with Mookie Betts. I'm just saying.
He was just differentiating the
freak athlete.
Yeah, I mean, even at the highest level, there are differentiations,
and
right? Jordan doesn't meet that standard where you could Mookie, you could stick him second, left, right.
Jordan's not that type of player. He's not even the type of player Pujols is. So
what do you think of Jordan eventually going to first? Somebody's going to have to replace Goldschmidt in the next few years. I was thinking about that.
That would be a harder transition than going to the outfield.
Okay,
I think. Because I did outfield and first.
I was thinking
you played first very well.
It took me a year and a half, and
I understand that
to learn.
But
at all.
Here's the one thing you have to remember, though. He was an infielder first.
Yeah, he was third baseman.
And playing third base is a more difficult position than playing first base. Okay, it takes more athleticism to play third. Way more. I think he can play first base. And I think he would be a good first baseman.
Yeah,
I don't know his mental makeup, but I'm saying physiologically, when I see him move in the outfield, he's a big guy. And to me, he moves more like a first baseman than he does a third baseman, shortstop, or second baseman. That's what I'm talking about. You have to look at someone who's athleticism. Does he fit in to the role? Now, he could be end up being, I don't think he'll ever be a great outfielder. He could be a good outfielder at the big league level. But I also think he could be a very good first baseman.
Well,
That's just
He's a
my
he's
observation.
a little clunky.
well,
I think somebody is a little clunky at first.
but in my, not to compare Albert to him in the bat wise, but Albert started in left field. And
Why do you keep bringing Albert up, by the way?
he hit the first 2 seasons in outfield, while I'm bringing it back up, and then he moved to first base to replace McGuire. And I thought if Jordan moved to first base like that, it seems more natural. He came up as a third baseman too.
Right.
Drafted a shortstop, moved to third base, went to left field, eventually wound up at first base and finally
Again,
came home.
you're talking about two different athletes who move differently and are built differently. So
I was just thinking the transition from third over to first seems more natural because it worked well.
that part you're correct. Yes.
That was my point versus putting, leaving Jordan in the outfield and seeing how over 5 years he develops into a decent athlete in the outfield versus maybe in another year or so.
He already is a decent athlete.
Well, I mean,
He has to be a good outfielder. He doesn't have to be a Gold Glove outfielder. He cannot be a bad outfielder. That's the difference. Right now, he's a bad outfielder.
He should go play in the winter ball.
Absolutely. He should go play first base somewhere in winter ball. Absolutely. I totally agree with that because I think that's where he's going to end up eventually.
yeah.
But he's got a beautiful arm from the outfield, though. He can throw.
Oh, yeah.
He can throw.
Yeah, the other guy was obviously not trying to cut Goldschmidt short because, I like him, but he's only got one more season. The other guy who it seems like would be a potential first baseman would be Gorman, if you'd want to move him. But, I was thinking you probably want to move one of those guys to first base once.
Not Gorman. He's fine at second. He's fine. I mean, Jeff Kent has Hall of Fame numbers, and he was no Gold Glove second baseman. As long as you here's the thing. People don't understand. Fans really don't understand. If you just make the average play all the time, that makes you a good player defensively. You don't have to make great plays. You just have to make the play that's in front of you. And anything over that is just a plus. But you have to make the routine play. That's what he hasn't done this year. He has not made the routine play consistently. And when he does that, that will jump him from a bad outfielder to an average major league outfielder. And you can live with that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
He has to make the ordinary play. And there's been many times when he hasn't because of the way we now score at the big league level. How do we score now errors and hits at the big league level? Do you have any idea?
How do we score errors?
Errors and hits. Do you have any idea how we do that? How Major League Baseball is doing that now? It's done by a computer. Launch angle, ball speed, and probability of catch. Those three things can't tell the human eye whether that was an ordinary play or not. Exit velocity means nothing. All right? No computer can differentiate between an extraordinary play and an ordinary play.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But as a human being, you can say, oh, he took the wrong angle because he didn't see the speed of the ball. Therefore, the average outfielder catches that, a bad outfielder doesn't. Well, now the computer gives that guy a hit instead of an error because it's done with a computer. Do you realize that there are almost a half of more hits than errors than there used to be?
No. That's interesting.
Yes. There used to be somewhere between 0.8 to 0.9 errors per game at the big league level 25 years ago. It's like 0.4 now. Because they just give hits away. Because some computer said that ball shouldn't have been caught. When you're looking and you're going, that ball should have been caught. But the computer spits out exit velocity, launch angle, and probability of catch. It has nothing to do with making an ordinary play. Nothing.
Well, there you go.
I was going to say that's something I had no idea.
Did you know
I love it.
when I first got to the big leagues, they used to have 3 sports writers decide whether it was a hit or an error. And they would talk about,
Really?
yes. And then it went down to 1, and now it's a computer.
Interesting. That's an interesting.
What's next?
Yeah.
To me, that's ruined the game. It's taken a mockery out of defense at the big league level. And defense wins you a lot of games.
Oh yeah, agreed on that.
A lot of games.
What do you think of now? I want to move on past Cardinals, but one last question before we kind of move into maybe some other questions. But as far as the Cardinals going into the offseason, obviously Mo has said the priority's 3 starting pitchers. Would you agree with that? And how would you, is there somebody you would really eyeball in this offseason to help them out? I've said who I think they should get, but I'm curious as to if you think they should, who you would eyeball, or do you even think that's the right prognosis?
Well, they're going to have to sign at least one free agent. Doesn't necessarily have to be two. I don't know who it is. Aaron Nolan. I mean, the guy on San Diego who is going to be the Cy Young Award winner this year.
Yeah, Snell's really good. The only thing is he has had some health issues.
Whatever. But my point is, I don't think there's enough cash resources to sign two of them. I mean, do you want to spend potentially $200 million on two pitchers that are older? I mean, it'd be one thing if, a guy came in, he's 20, he's 26, and he's a free agent, Roger Clemens type of free agent. That's different. But I don't see a Hall of Fame type of pitcher that's out on the free market this year. At a younger age. That's all I'm saying. Now, obviously, it costs a lot of money just to get 200 innings this year. I mean, in today's game. But if that's your standard, you're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah, I agree with you. My thought has been I really see them going to get one player in the offseason, a free agent. They probably won't go for the top guy. That's the Cardinals typically.
Well, they can go for a top guy, but they can't. They can't
go for a top guy. But I don't see him getting to number one. Snell's number one going in this offseason. He's probably going to be overpaid. You're going to get a Yankees or Dodgers, and I don't see the Cardinals getting in that bidding war.
I can see him going north of California a little bit. Can't you?
I don't think the Dodgers are high on him.
No.
I don't.
Yeah. Well, I don't know who's high on him, but there's always teams.
I mean, he's leading the league in ERA. Yeah. I mean, what more do you want? I mean, it's ugly. But I mean, it's an ugly 6 innings.
Yeah. Well,
he throws a million pitches.
Yeah. My point is I still see him getting a top one, but they usually kind of go. It seems like when these type of situations come, we kind of settle for the second or third best one. I think Nola winds up being the guy we get because he's a solid starter. He's a good leader. Wins, pitches a lot of innings, been healthy. Got a good 29.
The only thing that bothers me about him is he reminds me of Michaelis a little bit. And that scares me. I mean, he's got better stuff than Michaelis. I think he'll pitch better if he came to St. Louis and he doesn't Philadelphia. As Scott knows, Philadelphia's a launching pad. I mean, Philadelphia and Cincinnati are just hitter's heaven. You can't get any better than that. So I think his ERA would be better in St. Louis.
I see him like a Chris Carpenter type, he's a bulldog.
He is a bulldog. He doesn't like Chris Carpenter stuff, but yeah, he's a bulldog.
Yeah, I'm not talking stuff. I'm just talking attitude and play. When he's up there pitching,
stuff matters though.
That is true. You got to have the stuff. But I like
it's good to have stuff and attitude.
But he has attitude. He seems to be a guy who's good at either leading a club at times or letting another guy who's kind of step up. He doesn't seem to be a guy who is a.
I don't know much about him. I just know he's been pitching 9 years in big leagues, and that's good enough for me.
The other guy, but I think they'll still make another move. The other move, I think they go get two, and I think the other one will be through trade. They've had a lot of conversation. There's been some other people, but the one that seems to be homing in a lot is the Seattle trade, possibly. So, just going by the temperature that's been out there, but a trade with one of Seattle's top three guys, and probably I would say you're going to have to get rid of somebody.
I would be shocked if Seattle got rid of any of their starting pitching. Because I coach in Seattle. I know their situation very well.
Yeah.
They are not going to give up young pitching. They're not going to do it.
Well,
Seattle is probably the most misunderstood organization in all baseball because it's in the far northwest. A lot of people don't pay attention to it. But they're not a big market team.
Right.
People think, Seattle, no. I mean, they can't compete financially with other clubs. For them to give up young pitching for a guy, let's say Goldschmidt, whatever, or an older guy. But I'm just saying, I can't see him doing it.
Well, the package
they're in developing players,
exactly,
and keeping them.
Well, the thing they
don't trade away good players.
Well, they have a few times, but it doesn't happen very often. So, but
name me one.
King Griffey.
He didn't trade him. He became a free agent.
Was he a free agent? Was Johnson a free agent?
Who?
Randy?
I think that was the
Johnson?
last year. Yeah, 97. I think that was the last year for all those guys.
Yeah, it was
maybe 99.
Yeah. But you're right. They're not known for that. I just was seeing, they need a lot of hitting and fielding, and I could see the Cardinals could package up like and it's going to take multiple players. You're not going to do a 1-for-1. Everybody's dream. You're not going to, you're going to have to probably get rid of either Gorman or Donovan. You're probably going to have to throw in Edman, and you're going to have to get rid of a couple young prospects. Maybe that kid who just took the Texas League in AAA and a pitching prospect. So
they better not give up Gorman. That's all I got to say.
Well,
that bat has too much thump. He's 23 years old. He still doesn't know how to hit the big league level yet. And look at his numbers.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but you
can't give him up.
Yeah,
you can't sporadically too.
You can't.
Well,
I mean, if he's healthy, if he plays 160 games, he's going to hit 40 homers.
Yeah.
Tell me how you're going to replace that at second base.
Not disagreeing. You're going to you're talking Donovan.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Donovan's not going to win you divisions.
Yeah,
He'll contribute. Gorman's the type player wins you divisions. Because when you look at any team that's winning this year, it's their superstars that are performing. You can't win. You have to have superstars. You need 3 of them. Look at Atlanta. Look at L.A. Look at the good teams.
Look at the Yankees 3 that this year
We're terrible.
Yeah.
And when your good players don't play well, I don't care what anybody says. You ain't winning.
Yeah.
You ain't not going to win.
Well, I agree. I would not trade Gorman either, but I mean that's been the rumor mill that's been out there. The Cardinals did have.
I don't think you were before this.
No, I was saying that's been the proposed.
Oh, okay.
The proposed ones online that people have been talking about.
So you want to keep him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like Gorman. I think he's very talented. I think he would be a mistake to get rid of for that. As you said, the production there. I wouldn't trade Jordan Walker either. I think those two are untouchable. I would trade Brendan Donovan because you got to get rid of somebody to get somebody if you're getting a high caliber pitcher. Tommy Edman because you got Wynn coming up. He'd be a painful one. Probably O'Neill if you can get rid of him with that. They did draft O'Neill in Seattle.
So what you're saying is, I like the way you phrase that. Get rid of him. You're the GM of Seattle. Can I get rid of O'Neill for you, please? For me, would you please take him? Somebody take him. You can't take that position.
There are probably conversations where it goes that way.
Yeah, but you're like, I got this pile of nothing over here. Would you want to trade for him, please? No, I don't want him.
He's not a nothing, but he just doesn't. He's only got a couple years left, and Seattle's looking.
Who's got a couple years left?
O'Neill. That he's controllable before he's a free agent. I think he's got next year, and either next year in 1 year or next year is that, and then he becomes a free agent. So his clock is ticking where he'll be a free agent. And so if you're going to get anything, you've basically got this season to maybe move him.
The Cardinals haven't got anything out of him for 2 years. Why would somebody else expect to get something out of him? He can't. Here's another thing: your players have to play.
Yeah, I agree. That's why
you need 5 guys that are out there every day playing, and he ain't one of them. Yeah, he is not one of them. Can you depend on O'Neill starting next year in spring training? Be ready, play 140 games? Can you make that statement?
No.
I can say that about the third baseman, first baseman. I can say it about hopefully Gorman. He's close to Walker. Walker's going to do that. The catcher's going to do it.
Yeah.
So you got almost 7 guys, but O'Neill's not one of them.
Yeah.
He's not. I can't. I'm the GM. I'm the manager. I'm saying I can't depend on this guy to play.
Yeah.
So maybe someone else has that thought, but I certainly wouldn't have it.
You want to get in some
Q&A? Yeah, let's do some quick Q&A ones. So here's one. What type of person on and off the field was Barry Bonds? Did he help you educate young players and all the players on a roster? You hear nothing but negative.
Let's start with one question at a time.
Okay.
Don't give me 5 because I don't have the mental capacity. I know, but I don't have the capacity. When it comes to a period, let's go from there.
Here's all concise. Make this concise. From what the public hears about Barry Bonds, are there things that he did in the clubhouse or on the field that go unrecognized that you maybe would like to take the opportunity to let people know that?
On a positive or negative?
Yeah, positive note.
Oh, on the positive?
Yeah. Did he take batting practice seriously? Did he help out young guys with their swing, base running, or like?
Well, when I got to Pittsburgh, Barry had only played a year in the big leagues, so he was still a young player. And the first 4 years that I played with Barry, it was
messy.
And so it's really hard for me to say anything real positive about Barry the first few years we played together. He was angry. I don't know if he got mad that I played center and he played left. I don't know what happened there, but over time, with the help of his teammates, he had some teammates that really cared about his future as a player and the perception of what kind of player he was going to be. And he slowly got better. He was mad one time that I was a free agent, going to be a free agent. I signed a 3-year deal. He went to arbitration and lost. He called me the Great White Hope of Pittsburgh. And I just went up to him the next day. I said, Barry, trust me when I tell you this. Don't worry about your contract. Don't worry about mine. You're going to make 10 times the money I made in the big leagues. Just put your time in. You're a great player, and you always will be a great player. Things kind of calmed down after that. So he was immature. He was young. He had a father that probably wasn't the best example. So he had a lot of things going against him, and he was the number 1 pick in the draft, and he was the hope of the Pittsburgh Pirates. A lot of pressure. His dad was a great player. So it was, he was growing up in the big leagues when I got there. And for a lot of guys, growing up in the big leagues is not the place you want to grow up. You want to grow up before you get to the big leagues. So, having said that, the guy, when he put his mind to it, was the best player I've ever seen in my life. When he put his mind to it. So, he decided one day he wanted to be a Gold Glove outfielder. He was not a good outfielder we had to take him out of center because he just didn't really care, Put him in left. He didn't care in left for a year and a half. The next spring training, a Gold Glove comes to my locker. Everybody comes over and congratulates me, and the last one guy comes up is Barry Bonds. He goes, "What's in the books?" I said, "Take a look, Barry." He looks at it and goes, "Well, I'm going to win one of these this year." He goes out and wins 6 in a row. So that tells you what, when Barry Bonds put his mind to something, he was the best at it. Just like when he took steroids, he was the best guy that took steroids. It benefited him better than anybody in the history of the game, more than Mark McGwire. When he did put his mind to it, he could make himself just an incredible baseball player.
Pretty confident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, we got another question.
Yeah, you can read. Want to read the next one?
Please.
What to do?
How good of friends are you with Sir Charles Barkley?
Where did that come from?
Well, he's referenced you on air a few times in his show. So
yes.
that would lead.
Yeah, this one actually said he referenced you on air during the NCAA men's basketball tournament. What's he like?
He's awesome. I love Charles Barkley. Now, some of the things that come out of his mouth,
That's like any friend. You don't agree 100% with your friend.
No, but having said that, I love the fact that he knows that he can get away with it. I'm serious when I say that.
He knows a way to say things.
He knows a way to say things that make people think, and he knows, being a black man, that he has a little more rope than a white guy does, but he doesn't abuse it. And I think a lot of I think a lot of people do.
He's got a little more space to speak truth.
He does. He speaks truth. And do I always think his truth is how I see it? No, but most of the time I go, way to go, Charles. I really do.
How'd you get to know him?
When I was playing the celebrity golf tournament, he used to, I don't know why we got along. I guess because nobody else would go out and have those practice rounds with him, because it would take forever to find his balls,
or to swing.
But I don't know. We just kind of connected when we were, in those tournaments, and he really liked my wife, Lori. So we were going back to the room one night, and we rode the elevator up to whatever floor we're on. We're on the same floor. We're out in Lake Tahoe. All the way up, he's just like, "Man, woman, Man, woman, what are you doing to this scrawny little white guy? You need a big black guy like me. And so the elevator doors open up, and he picks my wife up and literally sets her on his shoulder. And he goes, "Now your scrawny little husband couldn't do this."
Like a little parrot.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, we just had fun, you know. And so one night we're walking back at the casino, and Charles was playing at this $10,000 Jack Black table, and he's like, I don't know, he's down $400,000 or whatever. It's Charles. He goes, get what? He goes, I said, you having a bad night over there? He goes, you don't want to know. But the next night he won like 600,000, so he was up.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Or so he told you.
Well, yeah.
Well, in that question, what your answer was kind of a bleed into the next question, which was, what you did some celebrity golf in various tournaments. What's some of your favorite memories, and who did you enjoy getting to know?
I got to know quite a few good guys. The thing I remember most about it was how nervous playing tournament golf. I never experienced the nervousness of playing tournament golf, which obviously at that level is like puny. It means very little. But I never had the same nervousness ever when I played the game of baseball for some reason, because I guess there's a confident level of when I played, I know what I could do and when I couldn't do. But in golf, I always thought I was capable of doing more than I really could do. So I would try to hit these shots, and I'm like, why did I do that? I can't hook a ball 230 yards into with a 5-iron or 4-iron. Just try to hit it straight, But that was probably the thing that I remember most about tournament golf is hitting shots under pressure instead of with your buddies. Even though, we were playing for money and, the status of winning and losing, all that. But yeah, that's the cool thing about golf, that even people who love to play golf, it's so different when it really matters.
There's cool people in those tournaments.
Yeah,
a lot of good actors.
Joe
Pesci.
Yeah,
I caddied for Joe Pesci once. His caddy didn't show up or something. You remember? You probably don't remember this. It was I think it was in Lexington, Kentucky, and he showed up to the tournament with cut off jean shorts and a wife beater, a white wife beater, and he said, "Hey, who's my caddy?" And I think he said, "Hey, my son can do it." So I caddied for Joe Pesci.
Oh, that's cool.
Gave me a $100 bill at the end.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So it was really neat to meet a lot of different guys. So.
It reminds me of just the fact that you did that. Did you see the other day that King Griffey Jr. was on the sideline during a Cardinals game, football game?
He's a legit photographer.
Yeah, he was a photographer.
Pictures to news outlets.
Yeah.
Who's this?
King Griffey Jr.
Oh, he's photo.
He's a professional photographer. Was at their Cardinals.
Like what's his name? Randy Johnson does the same thing. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he gets a good seat during the games.
You did that in high school to get front row seats at the games.
I used to have lens. I used to walk up and down the sideline.
Really?
Yeah.
He used to walk into our games with a camera and then not say anything. People just assume he's like with news organization.
Yeah, a big telephoto lens and then another camera on me, and I look. I play the part. So there's a couple of times the athletic director of the opposing school would say, "Look at me, kind of funny." He goes, "Do I know you?" I said, "No. Just taking pictures for the school."
That's awesome.
You were?
All right. Let's see here.
Finish up one more. Let's find one more good one.
Find a good one.
Here I'll say a few. You can pick one. How do you stay so fit at your age? Why do you think so many players get overweight after they retire?
Well, those two are connected.
Yeah, exactly. Was Prime Time or Bo Jackson the best athlete?
Best athlete or baseball player?
The better baseball player. I think better baseball player.
Oh, well, staying in shape is hard at my age. Very hard. Matter of fact, this morning I was during the middle of my workout. I'm like moving these weights, and I said to myself, why am I doing this? It hurts. Not my muscle part, but every joint in my body, because I've used this
What was your answer to yourself?
It's better than not. I mean, that really is my answer. I think generally people will rust out before they wear out. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you keep moving, I think it's something that God wants us to do, to honor our bodies the best way we can. I can't wait to get the new one, to be honest with you. Because it's going to be awesome when that happens. And staying in shape and not getting overweight, I think, is also something you should do for your spouse, because one of us is going to break down sooner or later. And I'd rather have her be her than me. So that's part of my motivations, to stay in shape for my wife.
Yeah, mine is too. I work out. I want to stay in shape for my wife and my kids.
Yeah,
that my kids
and my grandkids.
My kids were kind of part of my first motivation when Jim came up and we had Jim on the show. And
I just wish it didn't hurt so darn much. But there's a price. So it's like anything else. It's not. I probably take it too serious at times, but it's just been part of my life since I've been 8 years old. I've always been active physically.
Well, I will agree. The older I get, the more like I go to the gym now, and I just like things ache, things get hurt a lot easier. And
how old are you?
I'll be 50 soon.
Just wait.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. I know it's coming, but I mean, even at my age, I'm
sure.
I go to lift. Like the other day, I was starting to, doing something, and I think I was doing my back, and I heard something kind of through here. So
yeah,
when I go to lift,
10 years ago, 15 years ago, that didn't happen.
Exactly.
So
yeah. Now last night I'm at youth group trying to play football with the young middle schoolers, and I got about 30 throws in, and I could just feel it like.
There you go.
Drew was next to me, and I'm like, Drew, I think it's your turn to throw a few more of these, because
There was one year I was like 260. I don't remember this year. I just got.
I remember you were out.
My motto that year, I had a pretty good year, was you can't pull fat. Because all the fast guys on the team, 8% body fat, 6% body fat, like they'd blow out their hamstring, their rib cages, they'd pull their ribs. And I said, "You're too strong. You're too muscular."
Well, there is a reality.
Tyler O'Neill, you're too muscular.
Yeah, there's no question. There's when it comes to baseball, elasticity and flexibility are, to me, more important than being strong.
It's like it's a different guy. Telly, was that guy's name? The first baseman? That guy ain't pulling a muscle.
Well, he ain't hitting either.
So the question about Bo Jackson.
I wish he would pull a muscle so I wouldn't have to play him.
So you played with both those guys, Bo Jackson and
yes, I would say as far as baseball goes, Bo Jackson. I mean, primetime was great. Don't get me wrong, but Bo, man, if he never played football and just did baseball, he would. There's no telling. He could have been.
He's like Puig's on steroids.
Yeah, he was freaky. He was so freaky good.
Bo knows.
I love watching his highlight. I love watching him as a young kid, because.
I mean, just go back and look at the Sundberg play when he knocked Sundberg from home plate almost into the opposing dugout. He was a train, an uncontrollable train on the bases, and you did not want to get in front of him. Back then, that's when you could knock people around second base at home. He could throw the ball as good as anybody in the game. He could go from first to home as good as anybody in the game. He had power as good as anybody in the game. And if he had just did that instead of playing football, there's no telling. I don't know what would happen, but he probably would have been a Hall of Fame player. Because then he would have played longer in baseball and wouldn't have had the hip problem when he did play football.
He could have played so long.
He could have played a very long time.
Baseball?
Yes.
He could have played so long.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know he's bigger than Puig was, and I know how big Puig was, and I just can't imagine Bo Jackson. When I think of Bo Jackson, I think of those pictures they used to take, the Topps cards in the early 90s when you guys were playing, that it would always be like during when you were stealing a base.
Action, yeah.
And I can picture Bo like vertical, just like you had a vertical picture of stealing a base. Like,
My favorite was the one where he had the baseball bat behind him. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
It was so big.
I mean, the mere fact that go to your local Dick's store, go buy a helmet, and take a wood bat and try to break it over your helmet from one end to the other. He did that like it was like a toothpick. I mean, there's a film of him taking the barrel of the bat and the handle of the bat, putting it on top of his helmet, and just crack it in half.
wow.
And then he would,
You got a bat right there.
Yeah,
try it.
try it. I couldn't even do it. I know that.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yep.
Well,
I remember one time I got mad and slammed it over my knee. I didn't want to play the next day, and I didn't break the bat.
I think there's a video of me breaking one over my knee.
Is there?
I struck out with the man on third, nobody out.
Oh,
I was all mad.
a little mad about that? Yeah. All right. Well, those are some good questions. We'll save a few for next time. So
There won't be a next time.
we'll be.
All right. So you might want to get him in now.
I'll drag him in. Drag him in.
No, but we appreciate you being here, Andy. It's always a blessing, and always learn a lot. So I like it.
I learned something today too.
I did.
Well, thanks for coming.
That's it?
That's it. Unless you got anything else.
Not really. It's been
There were other questions in here, like favorite team growing up. Who'd you like?
Mets.
Yeah, the Mets.
Tom Seaver, my favorite player, hit a home run off him, so that was cool. That was really cool.
Tom Seager.
Tom Seaver. Yep. Tom Seaver.
Not the musician.
Not Bob Seager.
I know who my Tom.
Bob Seager can't pitch. Either actually Tom Seaver can't either. He's dead, but so
That happened recently, right? Just
this past year, 75. Yeah.
Here's a question. I mean, when you look at like the opportunities that got you to the big leagues, and then like the Cardinals trading you to the Pirates, do you look back and go, man, God really just orchestrated that so beautifully to put me where I needed to be?
Well, I think God orchestrates every day of our life. It's whether we yield to it.
acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it, yield to it, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like yielding to the Holy Spirit versus your own heart. I mean, that's the battle for the Christian. Am I going to yield to the Holy Spirit or to myself? So yeah, I look back and I see God's hand every day of my life. And here's the funny thing is when I was in St. Louis, I knew I was an everyday player. I just knew it after my third year, actually. I had a bad sophomore year, but I'm like, I can do this. I just need to be out there every day. So the next year, my fourth year in St. Louis, I'm like, Lord, please. So Willie McGee gets hurt and I play every day in center field. I go, yeah. Well, I got traded next spring. I got an opportunity to play every day in Pittsburgh. You need to be a little more specific with your prayers, what God was telling me. You should have said St. Louis.
Oh, you meant St.
Sorry.
God had you there, so you'd have Barry Bonds next to you, and you could now and then sharpen him a little bit.
Yeah, obviously at that time was the worst day of my life, but actually not the worst day, but one of them. But looking back, I just like, there's not enough thanks I can give for that opportunity. So,
well, cool. Well, thanks. I think that's a good place to wrap it. So thank you so much for being here. And don't forget to like, subscribe. Don't forget to share. And if you have the ability to support. And we will catch you next episode. All right.
You're safe.